This week's episode of The Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Squarespace.
GoDaddy.com.
And Netflix.
Trachtenberg. 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 Trachtenberg, 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 Trachtenberg.
With nothing better to do, get abducted by the crew of the Starship Alpha 2. They're from the planet Q, which, due to a space-time loop, is stuck in 82 and must be rescued. They need our heroes to discuss the latest news and give their reviews of games and movies too. Sure hope you're not confused. We swear this is all true, not just the premise too. The Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Totally Rad Show, episode number 85. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Cannata.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The Totally Rad Show is your weekly dose of all things rad. We go down to a candy shop, which I know we've done before, but wait for it. Get all the rad candy, bring it home, play LittleBigPlanet, wait. When the doorbell rings, we give it to you for Halloween. Because it's Halloween today, the day that we are taping.
The day we're taping, but the day this comes out, Election Day.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you have the ability to vote in
Go
America, please go vote.
Yeah, or France, or
Make your
Italy, or
voice
wherever you
Don't
are.
wear a costume. It's too late for that.
Yeah, that day sailed sometime today. Background, speaking of LittleBigPlanet, which we are going to review today, how freaking cool. We got to get out of the way at this one.
Yeah.
Nathaniel
How
Bond
freaking cool is
made us sack boys.
I don't know, I've always sort of felt like a sack boy myself, but now I can
I've always felt like a boy with sack. Really.
All right.
So thanks, Nathaniel. It's awesome.
Thank you very much. Hope you had a great Halloween, and we've got tons of stuff to talk about. Shall we get into the show?
Let's do it.
Just jump right in.
Go vote!
This week in movies, we've got two again for you. The first one we're going to talk about is Kevin Smith's new movie. And I should say before we talk about the movie, you know, it's the first time we've talked about one of his films, and he's definitely probably a reason why we're doing the show. I think, in just terms of pop culture.
You mean for us personally, or
No, I mean,
the show exists?
he instigated geek stuff in pop culture.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
I think maybe for you're a little younger than us.
Okay.
I feel he's a peer of mine.
yeah.
That's
I
true.
feel like I was in college studying to do this when Clerks came out.
But I think he was a big part of the movement for
The geek chic or
Yeah,
whatever?
geek chic.
Sure.
It's not the Trekkies were geeky and not cool. And when he came out, he made addressing that stuff and talking about Star Wars and pop. I'll talk about more in the review.
Yeah,
but I just thought it'd be nice to note that we're talking about a significant filmmaker as opposed to other weeks for our generation and our line of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's called Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and it stars Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks as two BFFs who live in Pittsburgh, and they run on some hard times, have no money, and decide the only way that they can make it through and pull together is to make a porno.
Yeah.
And Alex, I think that you, correct me if I'm wrong,
Made a porno?
This is your...
Yeah, it was back in my film school days. Thanks, Jeff.
No, this is your
sequel.
first Kevin Smith movie, or?
Yeah, I might have seen some in there that I didn't realize, but I was not an art house movie or indie movie aficionado when Kevin Smith was making indie movies. So like when Chasing Amy and Clerks came out, I was not the person who would seek out anything that wasn't Indiana Jones, Star Wars, you know what I mean? Like bam movies. So I kind of missed all those. I did see Dogma.
Oh yeah.
Which is a Kevin Smith movie.
Yes.
So I honestly don't know any of the other movies that he's made off the top of my head. So I might have seen some like Dogma, but didn't know they were Kevin Smith movies.
Okay.
But this is no.
Right, but I asked you that to segue into tell us what you thought of this movie.
Oh, good. It's a good segue. Good segue. Very clear
way is what it was.
Very clear for me.
At that moment in time.
Yeah.
It felt really long to me, but it probably was like 2 seconds, but I was like,
pretty long.
It was
pretty long.
long. You could drive a train through that.
And I got my 15 seconds back, I'm just saying. Because this is still the awkward transition. Okay. So, Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I wasn't really looking forward to this movie. I saw the trailers and I was like, oh, it looks mildly funny. I mean, semi-cute premise, down on your luck, make a porno. It's cute. I feel like I've seen that premise before, There was an HBO movie. We actually talked about this. There was an HBO movie that I remember seeing, which was like a group of guys who decide that the way to get chicks is to make a porno, and it turns out to be a good porno. Anyway, so it seemed like an overtreaded thing.
The Amateurs?
It might have been. I don't remember.
You talked about this, but it sounds interesting.
I think it was on the show. Anyway, so let me tell you what I thought of the movie. I thought the first third of the movie was pretty awful to me. There wasn't really any laughs at all. The first sort of joke, visual gag was so not funny, and then fast music started. I was like, wow, clearly he thought that was funny. I'm now scared. And it seemed to me like real fake and forced, like real relationship. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like a high budget studio trying to do an indie movie where it was like the conversation just felt really forced. And there were a couple really like super staged moments that happen. Like when they first get to the high school reunion, you can like see the extras being told to move on this beat. And it just really felt fake. Then, like halfway through the high school reunion scene, I sort of had a little bit of a flip, and I ultimately enjoyed the movie. Was not blown away by it by any stretch. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen by any, nowhere near. There are some good laugh out loud moments, but they're kind of few and far between to me. I think most of it was just semi enjoyable, but I really disliked the first third. So I think overall it was a pretty good movie, but nothing to write home about for me.
I have a lot of affection, for lack of a better word, for Kevin Smith, the guy, what he kind of represents, which is a little bit what you touched on. His An Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs, his podcast, The Smodcast. In fact, this movie is a lot like watching The Smodcast. A lot of the stuff he talked about in the Smodcast is directly in this movie. I mean, word for word. I like him a lot. I adore Clerks, and it made a big impact on me at the age that I saw it. It seemed like making movies is possible for anybody, and people who think the same way I do can make movies. Since Clerks, I've never really liked anything he's done. I haven't seen some of the recent stuff. I didn't see Jersey Girl, and is it good?
Love it, yeah. I love Jersey Girl.
I went into this movie expecting not to like it, And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought, I agree that it's problematic and it doesn't always work and it's very crass and vulgar, but you kind of know that going in based on the title. But there's a sweetness to this movie that I was not prepared for. And I think Elizabeth Banks gives a really wonderful, sweet, beautiful performance. And it's a kind of a feel-good movie. And I liked it more than I have liked a Kevin Smith movie in quite a while.
What is Elizabeth Banks, before you say what has she done? Why do I know her? I don't recognize her, but I know the name.
She was just in Invincible.
Like everyone else in the cast, she was in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, she's in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Well, I was going to say, that was the Indian guy. I was like, bro, I felt like that whole scene was taken directly out of 40-Year-Old Virgin and just
I didn't
written
remember him,
in.
but you guys, yeah.
Yeah, he was the boss. But go ahead.
What did you think?
So
Tony Danza?
I pretty much agree with everything you said and some of what you said as well. Let me explain why or how. I too have this deep affection for Kevin Smith as a person, more so than his films recently. I love Chasing Amy, and that was my favorite movie for a long time. And in many ways, I think that is the best movie about relationships. And that is one of the few movies I've ever seen in my life where I've actually learned something, and my life is better for having watched it. And many decisions I make in life, I reflect back on what I learned from Chasing Amy about relationships, interestingly enough.
That is interesting.
And Jersey Girl, I finally dug because it had nothing to do with his
Askew-verse.
the View Askew-verse, right? And I think I also did not like the first third.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it because I think he's similar to George Lucas and Star Wars, how George Lucas created Star Wars and he created this great universe for other people to then sort of riff on and think about how they would want a Star Wars movie to be. And then when he makes a Star Wars movie,
it's less than
because it's not as great because he did such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Smith, similarly, was the first guy to really put pop culture in movies in a grounded, real way, the way we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the first guy to put Star Wars, and then we've seen so many things since then that's
Sort
so
of build
commonplace
upon it.
that when he does it, it feels so old to me.
Yeah.
What do you mean
and
old?
old, like I've heard that joke about Star Wars before. I felt it's very the same way in Clerks 2. It had jokes about Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars, and it was like, wow, we've already heard this on the internet so many times. It's not fresh anymore.
Yeah.
That was what made Clerks so unique, and Mallrats, where they were discussing comic books and superheroes and
Pre-internet.
Right, exactly. So none of that stuff felt fresh or original, and he has such an interesting style, and every scene has to be the scene about where they say everything it ever was about this thing that no one speaks of.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think now we have scenes like that in movies, so it didn't feel like that important thing. But the last 2/3 of the movie, when the story takes place and he loses having to make those pop culture references, it's wonderful, and just the same way Jersey Girl was for me. I think Jersey Girl is a much better movie, a much more positive movie, and a better story. But this I thought was a really good movie, and very, very autobiographical, and it seems very much about his experience making Clerks. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is, like
Clerks of
coffee
Porno.
store instead of shooting and with a hockey stick as a boom pole, and which is apparently like I remember hearing that about Clerks as well. So anyway.
One of the biggest gross-out moments in the history of movies.
But great.
Hysterical.
Yes, like that.
And with anybody else, that moment would have been the thing that I was like, oh, too much. Over the top. Too much. For some reason, the way it was done.
Yeah, let's not even go into that.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay, so next up is another one from a very specific writer, Charlie Kaufman's new movie, Synecdoche, New York. So Charlie Kaufman, we talked about when we previewed the idea of this movie coming out, we talked about the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Charlie Kaufman is behind Being John Malkovich, An Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine, and he's a very sort of, I don't know what the right word is, but like kind of famous
Quirky?
writer in Hollywood. Like he's just known, but he's very esoteric films, all about creators. Being John Malkovich was about a puppet master.
Puppeteer.
Puppeteer, thank
Puppet
you.
Master is a
another
horror movie.
set of horror films. a puppeteer and adaptation is about a screenwriter. And this one, Synecdoche, New York, stars Philip Seymour Hoffman and many other indie fave actors. But Philip Seymour Hoffman plays a playwright or a play director who, I don't know, he believes he's getting sick, and he wins an award he wins a grant, the MacArthur grant, where he gets money to put on a work, and he tries to make the work of works for his life. And that work sort of turns into a work within a work, and a work within a work, which is sort of a theme throughout all his works, Charlie Kaufman's works.
Yeah, it's a nesting doll.
So, Jeff, I would go out on a limb and say this is your favorite movie of the year, and you wept. But tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right.
Here, I'll tie you in just in case you're wrong.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what I think about this movie. I walked out of the screening of this, and I said, I wish we didn't have to review this movie because I don't know what I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like watching a dream, and it is so clearly personal for Charlie Kaufman. Everything about this is so clearly so personal to him and so specific and so uncompromising that I love the fact that he was able to make this movie. I think most people who see this movie aren't going to like it. And I don't know if I liked it. I enjoyed this experience of sitting through it. I didn't get it. It has stayed with me. I love the fact that he was able to make it, and I think there's going to be a handful of people in the world it will be very special to them. I wish it achieved that place for me. That's where I wanted it to go, but it didn't. That said, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of watching it. I didn't get it. I don't know. I could appreciate moments, and there were things that landed on me and things that played out in a way you've never seen in a movie before and are just spectacular and deep and profound and wonderful. And then there are other times where I'm just completely lost and I don't have a way into this experience and I wish I did. And I often wondered how it would have been different if Spike Jonze had directed it like he originally wanted to, if maybe he would have found a way to wrestle that material better. I don't know how I feel about this movie.
Interesting. I mean, I pretty much agree down the whole line, although I don't think it connected with me as much. My big issue I had with it was, okay, going in, it's a Charlie Kaufman movie, right? And to me, and this is just sort of my brain space, he has sort of two types of movies. Movies that are based in a reality that doesn't exist and is clearly defined as a reality that doesn't exist. And movies that are put into what is the real world, but just slightly more hyper Charlie Kaufman world. So like adaptation is sort of real, it's grounded in the real world, and just has a little bit of Charlie Kaufman-ness. You know what I mean? Like towards the end, it gets kind of out of control and blah, blah, blah. And then, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, being John Malkovich, those are worlds that do not exist. They are fantasy worlds, you know what I mean? Where every moment is done in a fantasy way. My biggest problem I had with this movie was I felt like he didn't know which kind of Charlie Kaufman movie he wanted to make. So it started off really plain Jane, grounded in reality. You've got this guy and his family, and it's a very real family thing. And there were a couple little like dreamy sequences, which I kind of go, okay, dreamy sequence, I get it. So this is how we're going to get the Charlie Kaufman-ness is sort of in this dreams kind of thing. And what really nailed it to me was when was the house on fire.
Yeah, that was the jump shark.
That was the jump shark for me, because what happened was, and it wasn't when that scene was happening, because I could let that go. I could go, this is sort of this weird alternate reality. This is how she's feeling as a character in the scene. But the moment he went back to her place and there was a fire, I was like, that's not the movie I want. I don't want to see that Charlie Kaufman movie, because that's not the movie you've said that.
But time is being messed with the whole.
No, I know.
We're never in.
No, I know. No, I get all that stuff. But for me, and maybe it was because those scenes seemed too honest and grounded. I mean, the scene between the Philip Seymour Hoffman character and his wife when she's leaving for Berlin, like that was a scene. I mean, that could have been a scene in you know, whatever amazing movie about family drama it is. So when it goes into this weird, absurd thing, it didn't fit with me. Anyway, I'm sorry. So that was my big fight with the movie.
I had a similar experience, and that let me first just say that I thought that the first third of this movie was like my favorite movie. I mean, I knew going in that it's going to be really esoteric and I'm not going to understand anything. But in the first third, I'm like, it hasn't gotten weird. I get it all, and everything felt so freaking true. And that little girl, by the way,
amazing,
the best little freaking girl in the movie. So real, so true, and I think I just genuinely relate. And the same way about adaptation, the first 2/3 of adaptation felt like, oh my god, that is me. That is every worry I've ever had in a movie.
Yeah.
I think adaptation's flawless. I love the end of adaptation.
Yeah, and this takes a similar path. I mean, so when the house fire thing happens, I go, okay, this is weird, and I don't get this part, but I can forgive it for this. Let me keep going, and then it'll make, but then after that, there were just.
It's like a kaleidoscope. It starts spiraling out.
And now it just becomes an exercise. Just becomes an experiment is happening. I'm a part of it, and I need to like figure out how to figure out the movie as opposed to experience the honest.
But don't you think? I mean, it's like all of his other work where he's commenting on what you're watching as you're watching it, and it's this guy trying to get at truth.
Yeah.
I'm trying, as an artist, to express what is true, and I don't know how to do it. And that's what Philip Seymour Hoffman's character through the whole thing is, I can't figure out how to get there. And at the end he goes, I finally figured it out, and we're out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
I completely agree that every one of his movies is meta. Every one of his movies is about
the fact that
I am watching a movie, and
he's making a movie.
He made a play in the beginning of the movie where young actors are in old makeup,
and
the movie is about young actors in old makeup, and like everything that's happening is about me watching this. And the same thing in adaptation, a movie about a screenwriter and struggling with this screenplay that doesn't want to be too commercial. And the end of the movie, it turns into like
that's what's so genius about it.
Exactly, and this has the same thing happening. It just has a few more. But
did you not like it?
No,
I can't say that I didn't like it.
I loved the first stuff so much.
Yeah.
And I loved moments throughout it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. And I don't want to see it again right away, but when it comes on TV, I'm going to watch it again, and I think I will see more and more things. Because I was reading in an interview, because time suddenly starts to. There's gaps in time that we don't know about.
Not for everybody.
In an interview with Moriarty on Ain't It Cool, he was saying how did you pick that up in the kitchens? He's like, in the first scene, in the kitchen scene, there is something. Yeah. Time is passing in that scene. Yeah. But I didn't even.
My theory about this whole movie is that he's dead, and this is him like post-death trying to sort his life out. You know, like the afterlife. You know, kind of like defending your life.
Yeah.
You know, that moment of trying to like sort it all out, where in this dream state or post-life kind of where you can access anything at any time, and you're trying to sort out everything and figure out, because people he loves are switching in and out, and we never really get any closure with anybody or anything. It's all just compressed. And
now, I want to say too, because you mentioned about Spike Jonze, that I do think he did a wonderful job directing, and it didn't feel like
not directed well.
Yeah.
He has mentioned that he has had conversations with Spike, and Spike likes the movie a lot, but says he would have done it differently. And I'm just so curious as to how he would have done it differently.
That's bad. Yeah. Maybe they should do audio commentary together. Awesome.
That'd be crazy. This scene sucked. Yeah, that's the last one.
All right, so we're checking out Guitar Hero World Tour, which is the first Guitar Hero to have multiple instruments.
Correct.
We got the new guitar, first of all, wireless, which we like, which Guitar Hero 3 also had.
Yeah.
Some new elements to the guitar.
Yeah,
it's got the touchpad, slide pad. These aren't buttons. It's just you just touch it, and it's kind of to be a little Eddie Van Halen-ish. So you tap it, or you can slide.
Have you played any of it?
I have. I played a bunch of it.
How does it compare to the?
I think this is my
2?
favorite guitar.
Including
the new Rock Band 2 guitar.
Okay.
My favorite guitar that has been released.
Okay. Well, I know you're very excited about that. I will say I'm very excited about these here Bad Mama Jammas.
A box?
This box is more than a box. What's more than a box?
What's in a box?
A box with drums in them. The first thing I'll say when I see this is That is big. Second thing I'm going to say is bigger pads, but also I'm a little disappointed that you can't change the location of the cymbals because that is not where a hi-hat goes. That right there is a MIDI port on the back, and from that you can actually plug in any electric drum set. Which that is really, really cool. They have some hacks that you can get.
You may not be able to change where the cymbals go, but at least you get the cymbals.
What did you think of the? Oh, it's plastic. So +1 to Rock Band 2 bass pedal.
Yeah. I am definitely nervous about how this is going to feel. Definitely. My instant reaction is
nervous.
Look how wobbly this thing is.
Well, is it because we didn't put it together correctly?
I can't imagine that, because it seems like it's all through these.
Yeah, maybe it's like my IKEA chair.
And then
How difficult is this compared to the last one I just did?
I don't think it's much.
It doesn't have difficulty, because I'm a little bit on hard. I'm scary.
Some people call me a space cowboy. Yeah. Some call me the gangster of love. Say I'm doing you wrong, doing you wrong. Woo-hoo. Take it, Dan.
Wait, so did you down here? Oh.
Yeah, see? Nice, dude.
Yeah, star power on the drums.
Lovey-dovey all the time. Come on, baby.
So
Interesting.
this is awesome.
Really?
Totally awesome. Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Because the second I go down to here, it's hard to think to go there. You have no warning to go there.
Yeah.
But it's cool when you're there. But then when you go back up here, I'm like, where?
Not only that, you have no frame of reference. You can. It makes a bar come up on the screen so you know where you're touching, but it's hard to know how far you have to slide to get to the next note. This song is dedicated to my youth. Yeah, nice.
Okay, I wasn't on you, Jack. You don't do this.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do right here. Here you go, Dan.
Whoa.
You better run, you better do what you can. Don't wanna see no blood, don't be a macho man. Woo! All right, Dan. Strong up, right, just here. Woo-hoo! Beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. Beat it, seriously, beat it.
So I could have just from up here gone slid like that.
No, well, yeah, yes, you have to. You could tap, so you don't have to strum. It just removes the strumming from the.
The drums are actually very, very good. I'm sort of surprised. Thank you all for coming. The cymbals actually really do mimic cymbal. You get that vibe. The reaction to the head was really good. I think overall, I would probably enjoy playing this type of game on those than I would the Rock Band 2 drums.
Interesting.
And the bass pedal, there's something about it. I'm a guy who likes to have my bass pedal down when I'm not using the bass, and then popping up.
Yeah.
But because if you look, because it's this pedestal, your foot actually is not secure, so it's constantly rocking back and forth when you're not using the bass pedal.
I'd like to dedicate this song to my girlfriend, the Mexican.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Did you just say a Pollo Loco?
Yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán.
Keep it together.
Ba ba bam ba. Ba ba bam ba. Ba ba bam ba. Ba ba bam ba.
Nice.
That's 1 point band streak.
Dan the bilingual.
I find these much more difficult.
They are, because they're more like drums.
Rock Band or Guitar Hero World Tour, guys? Oh.
Because I play drums more, I'd say the kit from Guitar Hero, the game Rock Band 2. That's what that would be my.
I think Rock Band 2 more if you're getting it to have a party and bring people over because it's such a great platform and it integrates the downloadable content. For me, I like the progression in this game, which we didn't really get into.
Yeah,
but
all we know
the progression in this game is linear. You play, you know what you've unlocked. In Rock Band 2, if you're just playing it single player and you just want to play through the game, it's really hard to know, well, what city did I just unlock a new song in? What songs are new?
Only in Guitar Hero do you have the song creator, which maybe you should sit down.
It's pretty intense too. It's not for the faint of heart. I feel like the most recent one I've played is the one I like the most.
Of course, that's the way everything is.
It's hard to, you know. Okay, here we are in episode 85. And in 1985, a game was released on PC, Amiga, Commodore 64, and it was called the Adventurers Construction Set. And I remember getting that game. Did you guys ever play that?
No
way.
I remember getting that game and being so excited that I could make whatever role-playing game I could imagine based on just the tools to make whatever I want. It was a game that help you make other games.
What was the first game?
Turns out it was not good.
Was it called Jeff Kanata's Amazing Adventure in the Tunnel?
Yes.
Was it? Was
No,
JCAC?
Okay.
Your club?
It turned out that every game that you made kind of ended up being the same.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2008, and we've got the spiritual successor, I might say, of that, LittleBigPlanet, which is the PS3 exclusive title where you can create platforming games. The game is, it's about our little sack boy friend, and he needs to get from the left-hand side of the screen to the right-hand side of the screen.
Pretty straightforward.
Bunch of levels come packed in with the game. You have a little planet, and it's populated with a bunch of levels, and you go through those levels and you can collect items. And then you have your own planet where you can use those items and create more items using a very, very deep tool set to create your own platforming levels. You can share them online. You can rate them.
He said rate.
Okay.
Rate.
Them. As, you know.
Well,
Steve and I both went like this.
You could probably do that too if you felt.
You know what? It's a kid's
well,
game.
you can heart other levels,
heart 'em.
which
Alright.
is not a form, but.
All right,
on.
so we've been playing a lot of LittleBigPlanet. It's one of the games we've been looking forward to the most. And
ever since it was announced. I mean, we were like,
yes.
blah, blah, blah.
In fact, we have, Fallout 3 came out this week, but we're pushing that because, we played a lot of it and barely scratched the surface. So LittleBigPlanet, I think, is a huge deal because it represents a new kind of game. Or, if you're an adventurous construction set kind of person, an old kind of game done right. Or, what do you think, Dan?
Done right. Or, Dan, what do you think?
I think you're right.
Well, you don't know what I think.
About what you just said. The question you just posited.
Another awkward segue.
I love this game, and I think it's the future of games. And I think much like YouTube, and I reference that because this game has many similarities to YouTube. I think like YouTube sort of changed the way we interact with media. I think this game will change the way we interact with video games. I think this is the kind of game where, I don't know what the first game was that had multiplayer in it, and then every game after that had multiplayer. Or this is the kind of game that I think other games will take parts of for them. It does several revolutionary things, but it also does something very simple, very right, and that's a great platformer. I have to compare it to the best platformer ever made, and that is N+. And it does similar things in that you can. It's a really fun platformer. It's hard to navigate, increasing difficulty, hard to navigate levels, and really clever ways of having to platform. But baked in there is this automatic replay value where there's an N+, it's those gold nuggets that you can play the game again from the beginning, trying to get all the gold. And here it's got these other gems that you need to find with extras.
And items.
But the cool things about these items are things that you actually really want to get. They're not just like points. They are things you really want to get because it makes the experience of the game better because it makes you look cooler. It makes you be able to dress your pod better. Like it's things that I want to do. And that's just single player. You know, playing with 2 players is a whole nother boatload of fun.
And you can play it with up to 4 people at once, and you can play online.
Right. So there's a lot of that stuff to do. But then the even cooler thing are the user-made levels. So the idea, and by the way, you navigate this through, as you said, with the tagging and hearting, which is exactly what YouTube. So you don't need to sift through
It's
a bunch
stars
of
or
lame
whatever on
stuff. You
YouTube,
just say, well, did 1 million people heart this? Okay, cool. I'm gonna play that level. Did 1 million people heart this one? But even cooler.
Wow, it gets cooler.
Is there's levels that aren't games. They are experiences. People are saying, like, there's an Xbox 360 versus PS3 level. It tells you what it is you're going. It says Xbox 360 versus PS3. Choose one. You choose the Xbox, all of a sudden you blow up and there's a red ring of death. You choose the path with the PS3, and you get a bajillion points, and it's heavenly as you slide down glass to get to the end of the level. That isn't a challenge. That's not a game. That's saying something. How many things, just like YouTube, where at first people were just kids getting hit in the balls, and then we get hysterical things, we get interesting, we get these crazy videos.
Yeah, as if kids getting hit in the balls is not hysterical.
Right. I mean,
interesting.
And then we get like the demo for Mirror's Edge, someone replicated that in the game. How many other crazy covers of things are we going to get?
Or just a level that's music.
Exactly. Someone composed Sweet Child of Mine in the game.
Yeah.
People may compose crazy original, just like in YouTube, how now there's like rock stars that have come from YouTube. We may get an original song that's amazing from this game, from a game.
It really does unlock creativity, and the way you can use it to think outside the box it's a testament to the depth of the tools and the power that they really put into the user's hands.
Yes.
And the limited amount that they thought of the box.
And the music in this game is some of the best. I don't say score because there's actually songs, but one of the best music, the most pleasant, enjoyable. I just like to like.
Well, I think the pleasantness extends to the graphics.
Yes.
The whole experience is very positive and fun, and I think if there's one game to play with your girlfriend, to play with your mom, to play with your sister.
Your mom.
One game to buy a PS3 for.
Did you like it?
All right. Well, I mean, not as much as I had hoped I would. Definitely not as much as Dan just, made love to the box over there while you guys were watching.
He rated it.
He rated it highly, but with permission. I had a really hard time enjoying the single player stuff. To me, it was just sort of like, cool, okay, cool platformer, you know what I mean? Like, graphics are amazing, it's super fun, it's super cute. It just was sort of not that entertaining. It just didn't suck me in, you know what I mean? Which is why I had said before we review this game, we have to sit down and all play 4-player because I've only been able to play the single player, and I don't want to review the game based on that. Because personally, I don't think this is a single-player game. This is a game that is about community. And the fact that, 4 players playing the same game, there's a little bit of that help your friend, screw your friend thing, which I love. And we had talked about the fact that that was going to be something cool in the game. When it really gets interesting is when you get into the user-created levels. That stuff blew my mind. The lightsaber duel with the jetpacks, genius. The Batman one that we did, amazing. So like that stuff
and
to
it's
me,
only going to get better as people.
I know.
Just like
it's
YouTube.
Week. It's like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that stuff was really, really cool. Do I think that when Call of Duty 6 comes out, I'm going to have more fun playing the user-generated story levels versus the stuff that Infinity Ward did? No. So, but maybe there'll be something where level maps become more and more pervasive through the game consoles. I mean, before we didn't have hard drives, and when the Xbox came out, they actually implemented level design in a console game, which was some of the first times that that's ever been. I mean, I think GoldenEye might have had something in there, but. So that stuff to me was super, super fun, and I think it's worth getting the game even for that experience. Personally, to me, am I going to go home and throw it in again? I don't think I am. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is going to take over for me trying to finish Fable 2 or, getting on and playing more WoW. I mean, it didn't transcend to that must. I don't think about the game when I'm not playing it, that kind of thing.
Can I say 2 things to what he said before you say? Okay.
Sure.
One is,
A rebuttal.
You know when you will pop the game in again? When someone plays an awesome level that's got 1 million hearts, 1 million views, and you'll go, oh, check out that level, and you have a fun time playing that level. Just like YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool that it works that way. Also, I don't believe you went back and played episodes 2 or 3 of Half-Life, but you did play and loved...
Episode 3 of Half-Life hasn't come out.
1 and 2 of Half-Life.
Right.
But you did love Portal, which was a user-made... or based on a user-made... Right, it was based on...
It was some kids in school that were hired by Valve to...
But didn't they make something first and then...
Yeah, they made a prototype.
Well, I'm just saying that...
Proof of concept, and then
okay, all right. There's some nugget in there.
It gestated for a long time.
There's a little nugget. I think it's covered in bird poop, but it's in there.
I was looking forward to this game. I've talked about it a lot on the show for a long, long time, and I think everybody sort of knew it was something special as it was after it was debuted and they revealed what the game was going to be. It is something different and something new, and it's interesting because in the same year that we have Spore, which everyone kind of thought that was going to happen, and it had the same type of user-generated content as a tentpole. Yeah. I think the key with this game is that it's about the gameplay that's user generated rather than just the character models.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say we played a lot of the beta. You and I did when you were in London.
I remember seeing the Twitters, you bastard.
I was very disappointed with the beta. I thought I wasn't going to like the game, and I was really depressed because the thing that I was excited about is that the creation aspect might be an element of play. That I would be playing and creating at the same time. And it's very much a distinct difference between when you're creating and when you're playing. And when you're creating is much, much more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. Just looking at some of the level designs, I could only assume it would be.
Yes, it's time-consuming and hard. But the thing that won it over, in contrast to what you guys are talking about the user-generated content, which is spectacular and is going to continue to be spectacular, and it's going to be a platform for amazing stuff. But in contrast to that, the thing that I think really makes this game wonderful for me is all of the levels that the game ships with. And with the beta, it was only the first world that you get. And you see the potential in what Media Molecule has done with the game and creating these incredibly complicated platforming. You don't have a 2D platformer that's made to this level of production value and quality and level design anymore. And there's so many. It's hard. It's like very difficult game. Anyway, it's great. I have some major gripes. I think the multiplayer stuff, the camera is broken. The fact that you can go off camera and it'll kill you is very frustrating, and the fact that the respawn points are so limited in first person that when you're playing, you get 4 lives per respawn point, and if you're playing 2-player game, both those people suck out of that 4 if they die. So it makes some co-op a little more tense and a little more difficult, as Amy Jo could attest. Me freaking out. Okay, so the other game we're going to talk about this week is another kind of groundbreaking, in a way, game. It's Tom Clancy's Endwar, and it's Ubisoft's newest Tom Clancy game. We've had Tom Clancy first-person shooters. We've had Tom Clancy third-person shooters. We have all kinds of Tom Clancy games. We haven't really had a turn-based strategy game or a real-time strategy game. And this game is both. It is both turn-based and real-time. And the real gimmick of the game is that you're controlling armies, and you're doing so with your voice. You can you operate your controller like a walkie-talkie, speak into your headset, and give commands to issue your armies around and conquer spawn points. And it's basically a series of almost multiplayer match-type sequences that you play in the single-player game. And then it's almost like Risk or Stratego when you get to a certain point where you take strategic positions on a map, almost like a board game map, by fighting those multiplayer assault missions or defense missions. So it's controlled by your voice, which I think is a pretty crazy thing. I mean, when we were kids, Dragon Speak, right?
Yeah,
Dragon
yeah,
Speak.
Dragon
Famous,
Speak.
yeah.
So what did you think of Endwar?
You know, this is a tough game for me to review, and the reason why is because, and as most people know, I don't like this style of gameplay.
Right.
It's just not something that I really enjoy. That said, they did a few things. Well, first off, the voice command stuff. I loved it. I had a blast.
It works.
It works, and it works really well. And not only that, you get flustered. It's like it adds another layer of oh crapness when you're going, Unit 4, Unit 3, go attack bad guys, 4. And then you look at the map and you're like, oh God, that was wrong. You know what I mean? And I'm like, helicopters are going, and I'm like, no, Unit. So I really enjoyed that sort of like, and I really felt like I was here. Like with real time, with RTSs and some of the things sort of like that style, I get that I'm here, but I never truly feel like I'm this guy. You know what I mean? That I'm getting cameras and I'm going, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, I just always sort of felt like, I don't know. So that was really cool.
Wait, I don't get the here.
Here being in the
No.
shit.
The guy who's I'm actually
like
involved in the fight, but I'm the guy going, no.
Right.
You do that, and then I think we'll be okay. And I
In
never.
other games, you feel detached.
Oh, totally. I was like, the little blue guys on the right died. I'm making more, right? I mean, like it was just never. I never felt connected to the fighting. I never felt like anything like that. And I also think that the way that it did that really well was the cameras that you track on one group, and that you can see the map of what's happening. And I'm on the helicopters, and then I see red dots, and I'm like, oh God, but my helicopters are doing stuff, and I got to make sure that they do stuff. Right. And then it's like I need to make these, I need to make that. Boo, I'm going. Blah, blah, blah. But that said, I'm just not a fan of that style of fighting. And after the joy of those things wore off on me, it was like, oh, this is the game. Yeah. And I don't really, this isn't my type of game. So I think if you're anywhere even remotely interested in those kinds of games, you should try it. It's definitely an experience.
But you are interested in those type of games. In fact, have you installed my StarCraft that I let you borrow?
I did. I started playing it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Right, another discussion, but
I'm playing this thing. I played it quite a bit.
So you dig strategy games, real time.
I do. I may have had an opposite reaction in that at first I love the voice command stuff. Alex says it all best, but I didn't.
I agree wholeheartedly on.
But there was no challenge for me until you get past all that the prelude to war stuff, and then when you get to the war and
it amps up.
It amps up, and you get to when you can unlock airstrikes. You have to make more complicated decisions as opposed to the game's only giving you so many things.
Yeah. That's just an introduction to basically commanding your troops.
Right. But yes, I mean even beyond the tutorial you're playing, but it's still not challenging until a certain point. I felt the only thing it's missing for me is interesting because it fights what you say a little bit. Even though I agree with you that it's great to be on the ground and feeling it, but I needed to get far back.
You have the. Maybe it's because I played Europe, and I don't know if
I played Joint Strike for America.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's specific to Europe, but I had a unit that lets you sit rep.
I don't think Oh yeah, there was a sit rep thing,
you basically you can play the whole game from a pulled out giant tactical map.
I didn't clue in on how to. It said how to call it in, but I don't.
You just hit the back button actually.
Yeah. But I don't think I. But no,
anyway,
I wanted the view that is StarCraft. Is that really that view?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a big map with little tiny dots on it.
It's basically that, but
a little bit closer, something in between. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, there's half rep too, which is
because it
is full up. And half
it was hard to really think about strategy when I'm there in it. And I was like, I'm seeing these guys, but I want to know exactly where they're coming from so I could flank. Or I found it very hard with the camera angles given.
I think you should try that thing because it's basically exactly what you're asking
so it sounds like there's some.
Hit the back button.
That's excellent.
What do you think?
I think we should reiterate one more time
that the
fun voice commands is awesome.
I know.
More games need to steal this technology. In fact, let me blow your minds.
Didn't they have it in the first Rainbow Six or the first Ghost Recon? I think there was something where you could go like Team 4, break door 6. It was on the Xbox, I think.
Anyway,
but
this
definitely
is
not to this.
Robust.
Yeah, definitely not.
But
to
let me
this
blow your
extent.
minds. What about an iPhone game that's controlled. You wear your headset. You don't maybe don't want to play it in public, but it would still be badass because you don't have to.
Penis 4. What?
Well, that's the game you would make.
Well, I'm just saying.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the problem that I have with this game is it just seems a little generic. And maybe it's because I'm not like a huge military war
I was
buff.
scared playing it, man.
I was too.
I was like, fuck,
because you feel like you can make all the wrong moves, and your guys are persistent. So if they survive the battle, they get to level up. And I was like, I don't want anybody to die.
Yeah. No, I meant story mode though. It's like in 2016, this is gonna happen.
Hardcore.
And like I could see that happening. I could see it. And then in 2020, this is gonna happen. I was like, I don't want that to happen. If that's gonna happen, like
I just wish that it had a little more character.
I want to move to Georgia.
Yeah.
It's almost like Advance Wars on the DS, which is a game I love. It's almost like that commanded with a voice, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I just wish there had been more.
I also wish
fantasy to it.
the only time you get something in your ear, or when I played
Yes.
something wrong,
Everything should have been in there. Yes.
Or not everything, because then it would just be your hearing. I like that. I'm hearing the whole game in there. And
No, I mean
hear
voice
special
stuff.
commands
Yeah.
like tips.
Or incoming, because they
you're
said
very
Like when you're playing
Attractive,
Metal Gear Solid and they give like the person or Halo.
you're very good at this game.
Like
Let's have sex later.
Like
I love you,
Cortana
Xbox.
and
Don't
Halo.
tell Alex he's sitting right next to you.
Like Cortana and Halo, how she's
Yeah.
giving you advice in the battlefield. That should be in my ear.
Yeah, I agree.
Halo Wars should be able to be controlled with your voice. Dude, it's really fun to talk.
It's new technology that blows our minds.
My roommate thinks I'm crazy now.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Because I was like, Unit 3, attack hostile 1. No, Unit 2, attack hostile 1.
I know.
Unit 4, retreat. It's awesome.
Damn you, Unit 4! Well, before we get to our email, we do want to thank our sponsors, such as Squarespace.com, an amazing web hosting, web design site. They have an amazing WYSIWYG editor. They helped me out with AlexAlbrecht.com. They've done a couple of our blogs, which is great. So cool. And also, you actually brought something up, which is super easy to update. The WYSIWYG stuff is amazing. It's amazingly easy to design the site, but once it's designed, posting new content to your site is so easy. It's designed very, very well. So you can head over to squarespace.com. If you use the code TRS, you can actually get 10% off the entire life of your website with Squarespace. Check them out, squarespace.com.
Also, if you're making a website, you need a domain, so why don't you go through GoDaddy? They've been supporting our show, and we love them.
We support them.
We do. They're the place to go to get domain names. You can get them as low as $1.99. They have easy software. They have great customer support. They call you and make sure everything's going great. Low prices, a robust website that takes care of every need you might have if you're making a new website. Really cool. If you use our promo code TRS1, you get 10% off your order. So use that at checkout. Beep.
Awesome. We also want to tell you about Netflix, which you probably already know about because it's like the #1 online renting site in the world. I'm going to just throw that
that
gauntlet
stat up.
down.
I love it.
I think that has to be true, though.
Bring it, every other company.
If it
Netflix
isn't before it is now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Netflix
said it.
is basically like Kleenex or Xerox. It's like
a
when you
verb.
want to rent something, you go, I'll Netflix it.
The verb
Yep.
now.
So they have over 100,000 titles, or 1,000 if you're my friend Jeff Gordon, who pronounced that weirdly. They have Blu-ray titles. Not the race car driver, GEOFF.
The wrong way to spell it.
That's why I call you Guffrey, because I used to call him based on that spelling. Some of the titles I'd like to recommend, Adaptation, wonderful.
Fantastic.
And Jersey Girl was a movie that a lot of people didn't see because of that whole Benifer situation. A lot of people assumed it was tripe, and it is a great movie. And if you like Zack and Miri, I think you'll really like Jersey Girl. Even if you didn't like Zack and Miri, I think you'll like it. They have 40 shipment centers, so you're going to get the movie that you put at the top of your queue practically the next day. Plans start as low as $4.99. And to get a 2-week risk-free free trial,
Risk-free free trial.
head over to www. Got to put them in; they're important. .netflix.com/TRS.
Genius work, my friend. Genius work, my friend. Let's get to our email. This
is an
email
awesome one.
is awesome. Hits the hard muscle a little bit. So this email, the subject is, my wife managed labor while watching Totally Rad Show.
Cool is that?
Hey guys, we, my wife and I, are sitting here watching the latest episode, and my wife is in the early stages of labor. She's finding the show a pleasant distraction from the pain, Though she says it's progressively getting harder to laugh. Really? Is there ever a time that's not time to laugh? Maybe labor. At
Perhaps
some point,
I was speaking at that time.
Yeah. She's like, damn it, somebody else say something funny. Stop talking, Dan. At some point later in the evening, we'll be heading out to the hospital, but thought you'd like to hear that the show has played a role in the birth of our second child. We'd be sure to send names, specs, photos. I love that he calls them specs. I love it. Once the deed is done.
And they actually did.
They did.
It was a couple of weeks ago.
And we have a picture.
Beautiful baby girl.
Doesn't
Emily
that look like
Miranda.
classic? It looks like classic family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so awesome.
It's so great, so great. I'm glad that we could help out.
Tiny little,
I feel like we were
little
there.
Cabbage Patch.
Yeah. I gotta take the gloves off now. So our question, Sally, who can't type right now, wonder why, would like to know what is the worst pain you've been in and what did you do to deal with it? Which is a very odd question for our show, but which is great because it's something that we would not have talked about.
Do you think that the thing he was like, hey honey, I'm typing a message to the toilet guys.
She's like, oh yeah, well ask them how much pain they've been in.
And I love that it says cheers, Seamus, Sally, and ...
Yeah.
Now you're sitting there watching us with the little one.
Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope.
Congratulations.
Yes.
So interesting question.
So it's the most pain.
Most pain, and then what did you do to deal with it? And Vicodin, probably top answer. So Jeffrey.
Well, I think I mentioned very recently on the show about my scar on my leg, and I tore my thing, and I passed out from the pain. So I told that story recently. So I'm not going to take this in a little. I don't know if it's the worst pain I've ever been, but when I was a kid.
But some bad pain.
Anytime I hurt myself, and my mom tells this to every person she meets, unfortunately. And now I'm going to tell it to the entire audience at home. Is
tell the world.
If I hurt myself, I used to freaking talk in weird language.
Tongues?
And my mom always makes fun of me.
So you had the devil in you.
I may have. It got a little devilish. I would say, my mom freaking thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I would get hurt.
So she'd hit you just to see how you...
I would get hurt,
She'd be, like, laughing
and
at you.
she would start laughing her ass off,
that's
and
gotta
it
be
would make
hard.
it so much worse for me.
Yeah.
Although, I've always been a ham, so maybe there was part of like entertaining my mom that made it a little bit better, and that may have been why I did it. But I remember one time specifically, I was crawling. We were playing G.I. Joe, my friend John and I, and we were crawling, and there was a board with a rusty nail sticking out, and I crawled and went into my hand.
Oh boy.
And everybody, it was
tetanus,
at his house with his parents. My mom was there too. They were visiting, and everyone was just laughing their ass off because I was freaking out and making weird.
Wow, that's interesting.
I know it's a
So
weird
you
way to deal with pain.
the pain with tongues.
Well, that's one way to put it. I think it was more like I started making people laugh, and I think that made it better. I think it was just like
Now everybody's happy. Why, my hand's still
the healing
off.
power of laughter.
It is.
It's like I was my own Patch Adams.
Oh, that is epic. Senior Daniel Trachtenberg.
Honestly,
Got Steve with
folks,
that one.
my friends,
You've never been in pain before in your life.
I have a.
Boom!
Have you seen
How you deal with that?
Have you seen the movie Unbreakable? Because that was very painful to watch.
You're
That's a
great
good movie.
I know I like it too. I just made a joke, and I didn't make Sally laugh. No,
Say that like this.
honestly think that the worst pain I've ever been in is when my high school sweetheart cheated on me.
Is it? Was it Joy Eisenhart?
Joy Eisenhart, I should be so lucky I was with her long enough for her to cheat on me. We were together for like a week in
I
kindergarten.
should be so lucky, oi.
Love it. So
No.
You had your girlfriend cheated
My
on you?
girlfriend, she was a year ahead of me, went to college. Ugh. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
All that stuff is bad.
It's like finding out you're adopted. When
Right.
it's like I've been living a lie the past however long it's been.
Yep.
Just made everyone sad.
And I this is
know we
I
were
wanna
doing
know how you-
psychological pain.
how did I deal with it? I went to school the next week or 3 days in my pajamas. I had these like Tasmanian devil pajama pants.
That'll get you a new
I
girl.
said, fuck it, I don't care. I'm not, excuse me, Emily, don't repeat those words. I don't want to, care about how I look. I'm just going to be upset and mad. I'm not going to get dressed. And I came to school
you
pajamas.
were the
And
original
then
emo.
I found out that a friend of mine was cheating on his girlfriend, and I became like the Terminator. I was like, no one's gonna cheat on anyone. I was like, if you're telling her,
If the
you
Terminator
don't tell her,
were to wear pajamas, you were the Terminator.
The Pajamanator.
so I kind of flipped out a little bit, but things worked out in the end. So
Yeah, you're still alive.
I'm still alive.
Good work.
I got rid of my jammies.
Scar runs deep. I gotcha. So for me, I've had a lot of sort of bumps and bruises and breaks. But the one that stands out, and I don't know if I told you guys on the show, The Devil's Grip. Did I ever tell you guys about that?
Oh, your mom.
I don't know if it's on the show, but
Yeah, that is crazy.
terrifying.
So literally, I don't even know how old I was.
I didn't think when you first told me this, I didn't think it was a real thing. So explain what it is.
Okay, so it is an infection in the lining of your heart, is what it is. Which
It's kind of like what Dan just said.
I know.
it is the physical representation of somebody cheating on you, and that is very painful. I don't know if you guys know what something that's wrong on the lining of your heart feels like.
Doesn't feel
It's
good.
not comfortable. So I was like 7 or 8, something like that, and I was just out back, in the yard playing, and the way that it manifested itself was very scary because I lost my breath. Like I couldn't catch my breath. And then what would happen is I started sort of hyperventilating because I just started freaking out, like I couldn't catch my breath. And then when I would breathe in, it would feel like somebody was like stabbing me in the chest with a hot knife.
Golly.
So what happened was I would breathe in, have this horrible pain, and then start hyperventilating. And every time I would breathe in, as I was hyperventilating, it would feel like somebody was repeatedly saying. And so I literally walked into the house like, I can't. And then they took me to the doctor, and we figured out what it was. And it was really spooky, but I will say it wasn't until I think my mom was talking to you guys about the experience that I actually knew what it was that was happening to me. I just thought it was just this thing that you get. And it's very interesting because the clinical name of the Devil's Grip is Coxsackie bee. Which
That's right.
Which I thought was hysterical. Because it's literally called Coxsackie bee. And the way that I dealt with it, I had a paper bag, and I remember sitting in the urgent care, and I would have a paper bag, and then I would go and hold my breath. And when you're hyperventilating, you have so much oxygen in your body that you can actually hold your breath for a very, very, very long time. So I was literally sitting in this emergency room, and it was freaking everybody out because I would go and I would scream when I was because it was hurting so much, and then I would go and I would sit there silently.
That's why they called it that, because it looked like you had the devil in you.
Because everybody gives you a paper bag when you're hyperventilating to stop you hyperventilating.
I thought it was a cliche. That's real?
No, because it limits the amount of oxygen you can take in at a time.
It's such a I've only seen it in movies.
Well, there's a reason cliches are cliches.
Yes.
I know.
So anyway, that is one of the most painful things that I have.
To go full circle, and it sounds horrible, but watching Synecdoche, New York, did you guys not I was like, oh my God, my poop might be. I mean, that's gonna. What? I just started worrying about everything.
Yeah. I was like, I think I have those bumps.
I know. Yeah.
It was horrible. Well, thank you guys so much for the email, and congratulations on your second child. Amazing.
Great, wonderful.
If you'd like to have your email read on the show, please feel free to send it to fans@totallyradshow.com.
That's also where you would send us a background like Nathaniel did. And you can download this particular background if you'd like it, or you can download our logo to make your own background and send it in. Maybe it'll be on the show. That's fans@totallyradshow.com. Also, sign up for our forums and participate. There's a really great community there. If you sign up, you can post on our forums, talk about this episode, talk about anything you'd like.
Yeah.
Yes. Also on the website, totallyradshow.com, is the movie we're going to review ahead of time. So head over there to check out what it's going to be. It's either going to be Slumdog Millionaire this week, or the new Danny Boyle movie.
Oh, I love when he says movies. I'm like,
never heard of it.
It is
can't wait to see it.
Or we might be taking a week off. We're just talking about news.
Heyo.
I mean,
look at you. I'd like to plug a couple of projects real quick.
Plug projects.
Steve and I made a comedy web series. 5 episodes have come out. It's called Invisible Friend. If you go to veryangry.neighbors.com, you can see the entire 5 episodes that we've done, which is sort of the end for now. But we'd love for you to check it out and sign up for Very Angry Neighbors YouTube channel, where you can do at veryangry.neighbors.com, because we're going to have a lot of new comedy coming out there.
And they're funny.
Yeah.
And The Invisible Friend is not just funny. It's actually it's like watching Lost. It's like cool. It's like a gripping story with special effects.
And if you live in the LA area, I'm going to be part of the LA Comedy Festival at the end of November. You'll hear more about that on the show, but you can check out lacomedyfest.com if you want to come see me do improv live.
Cool. Epic. Also very funny live improv guy.
Yes.
Thanks. Also, please follow us up, twitter.com/AlexAlbrecht
/Jeff Canada.
/DannyTRS.
/SteveTRS. That is it for this week's edition of The Totally Rad Show. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
Until next time.
Don't forget to vote.
Don't forget to vote.
Right now,
It's-
pause,
it's,
go.
It's over. It happened.
you don't
Well, a
have
lot
to
of people
pause.
are watching this after the fact. So
Why would they do
Get
that?
in. Get into the
I don't know.
Get in.
Trachtenberg, 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 Trachtenberg. Trachtenberg, 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 Trachtenberg.